So a couple weeks ago, I was very bored trying to find something to play because all the games I was excited for this year were delayed, like Stalker 2, Sons of the Forest, Party Animals. Where are all these games? There's nothing to play. Nothing to play here at all. It's a pretty good indication that there's not much going on in the post-Soviet apocalypse survival milsim genre. When a really bare-bones demo made by one guy starts getting a boatload of traction on YouTube. And so maybe you go download that demo and it reminds you so much of a game that came out 15 years ago called Stalker that you suddenly really want to go back and play it. And after playing Shadow of Chernobyl for a few hours, I was kind of surprised by how well it held up.
Bullshit.
Bro, this game... I'm shocked at how well this thing has aged.
What do you mean? Oh.
This Stalker game, dude, the lighting is, like, not bad.
Bro, when was it made?
2007!
Dang.
Bro, give me a game with ragdoll physics and like dynamic light sources, and I'm like right there. What?
But a couple days after I started this little trip down memory lane, I caught this video on my YouTube feed, and it became super obvious very quickly that if I was going to play Stalker in 2022, this was the way to do it. And it seems like a lot of other people thought that too, because now there's about 50,000 people in a Discord trying to navigate the logistics of all of this mod's most complicated features, and boy, are there a lot of them. Gamma is an almost total rework of 3 different Stalker games, and almost everything about it is overwhelming.
You gotta be fucking joking me, bro.
Even the download and installation process. I had to do it a couple times and it ate up most of my afternoon. Apparently there was so much traffic after the Drewski video came out that the mod database servers crashed. But for me, in the grand scheme of things, that's fine because the game's completely free, and when you have no life, it's not that big a deal to wait around for free entertainment to finish installing. But then you get into the game and you discover all these options to tailor the experience to your individual preferences. Preferences I didn't have yet because I hadn't played it. So I just ran most everything on default. I chose medium settings. I tried to mess with as little as possible. So I started out in Rookie Village, just like I had a couple days ago when I played Shadow of Chernobyl.
Come on, dog. Oh, I still haven't equipped this thing. Where is it? Where the fuck is it? Oh. Put that shirt on too. Oh, gotta actually put it on. Okay. Same with this backpack, I'm assuming.
I took up the exact same couple starter missions, dispatched some mutants.
Try shooting at the actual zombies.
Cleared out some bandits.
Don't die. Okay.
But after that, the game pretty sharply diverged.
Fucking stupid game. Hello. Fucking hell. What's up, bitch?
Stalker Gamma does have a main storyline to quest through. It actually, I think, has a few, but it also shuffles your priorities by introducing gameplay mechanics like the weapon and armor repair systems and a much more complex medical system. If you get shot, you're gonna end up using like 2 or 3 different healing items just to mitigate that damage.
What? Why are you fucking aiming your gun at me, bro? Can you stop? Because you're freaking me the fuck out right now.
Stalker Gamma is mostly about spinning these plates, balancing out the positive and negative effects of food, drink, alcohol, smoking, anti-radiation pills, healing meds, sleeping, cocaine, you're blowing lines, marijuana, you're smoking pot, reading pornography. Gamma is a sandbox filled with a lot of characters who all want you to do something for them, whether it's finding a stash, or getting a bunch of random crap for them, going somewhere, killing a dude, or rescuing one, or, you know, sometimes they just want you to escort them to some dangerous place that neither of you have any business being. Everything in this world is always already broken.
Oh, my gun's fucked. Okay, fun. Very, very good.
You'll have to scrounge around for bits and pieces to repair your armor and weapons, finding tools not just to put the pieces together, but to pull apart stuff you want to scavenge too. This is way more of a pain in the ass than it sounds. I probably went 15 or 20 hours before I got a better primary firearm than the one I started with. And it was with immense joy that after such a long time, I finally cobbled together a working AKM out of pieces I'd plucked from so many different corners of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. I had to follow this anxiety-inducing infographic that I found in the mod's Discord server. This is what it looked looks like. Pretty soon I had a new AK, new semi-auto shotgun, and I even got this pretty cool M4, maybe it's an HK.
Ooh, that is a cool gun.
I'm not sure, it seems a little advanced for where I'm at right now, but I'm sure it will come in handy later on in the game. But superior firepower isn't a golden ticket through the necrotic wasteland that is the zone.
Holy fucking...
Because I'm still dying all the time, not just to terrifying invisible bloodsuckers.
Oh!
Or rabid jungle cats.
Holy shit. I'm fucked, Bean. I'm fucked.
Or gigantic Cronenbergian meat freaks, but to enemy stalkers and their homies.
Ow. Ow.
There's like 9 different factions. I can't keep any of them straight. As well as all the radiation and the anomalies that burn you and electrify you and pummel you and explode you wherever you go.
Fucking awesome.
Luckily, it is possible to make some friends, and sometimes all you have to do is ask, although others will charge you a small fee. Even if these AI friends aren't the most proficient killers, they still provide a great distraction for your enemies, so you're not the only thing to shoot at. The dynamic interactions between the AI go a long way towards making the zone feel like a real, living place.
Oh.
Stalkers fight mutants, or they fight each other. You'll come across these scenes spilling out in front of you as you're on your way to do some totally unrelated thing. It's all dynamic. None of it is scripted. The whole place of the zone feels like a big stage where you're just one character among many, and you're just as expendable. It makes you feel vulnerable and scared and fragile. It makes you feel the way a good survival game should. Every once in a while, you'll get a message on your little PDA tablet thing that you should take cover from an incoming storm. These are the blowouts and psi emissions. It's like a bunch of electricity and radiation and smoke and bad psychic vibes that'll kill you if you're caught outside. It's not explicated in the warnings, but if you know your Stalker lore, you'll already know that these storms are the result of the sea consciousness. And then the sea consciousness is a bunch of scientists that are sedated in tubes and all neuralinked up, like telepathically. Obviously, if you're making a game that's centered around the Chernobyl incident, there's probably a little bit of a political subtext, especially if it's coming out of a developer that's based in Ukraine. The plot of Stalker revolves around a bunch of ex-Soviet scientists trying to harness the power of this zone so they can brainwash humanity and like stop war, which to me sort of sounds like a metaphor for communism. But it's not even a metaphor really, because it's just literal, because I'm assuming these Soviet scientists were already communists. It's just hard for this shit not to cross your mind given what's happening right now in Ukraine. Mikhail Gorbachev once said that the Chernobyl incident was the real cause for the fall of the Soviet Union. And Russia's war in Ukraine today is in part an attempt to recapture the myth of a powerful Soviet empire. Because the Chernobyl incident wasn't just an ecological disaster, it was a political disaster. The catastrophe at Chernobyl revealed the inefficacy of the Soviets, their inability to face catastrophe while maintaining a party propaganda line that was so hostile to truth and fact.
Contain the spread of misinformation.
It's just an inherent weakness in authoritarian regimes because physical reality is immune to propaganda.
I think there's graphite on the ground in the rubble.
You didn't see graphite.
I did.
You didn't. You didn't! Because it's not there!
Weirdly enough, the mythology of the Stalker games predates the Chernobyl incident. The game's mostly based on a book that came out in 1972 called Roadside Picnic. In the book, the story takes place in Canada, not Ukraine, and the anomalies and artifacts are leftovers from alien visitors. It's like the aliens had a picnic on Earth. They just like stopped by and were like ants fighting over the crumbs from their cheese and crackers, their alien cheese and crackers. They weren't eating cheese and crackers. They probably had, it was like alien food. But anyway, the stalkers are like scoping out their little wine-stained Dixie cups from their, they littered the aliens. They are a littering bunch of aliens. Anyway, the stalkers in the book, they sneak in and out of the zone so they can scoop up these little alien gizmos and sell them on a black market. And in the book, one of these artifacts sounds an awful lot like a nuclear bomb. I read this one essay recently about Roadside Picnic that made a pretty compelling case that the book was really an anti-American, anti-capitalist piece of propaganda written by these Russian sci-fi authors. And in this critic's interpretation, the alien artifacts that the stalkers are looking for in the zone are like the blue jeans and rock music that were smuggled into East Berlin during the Soviet era. So if you're like a loyal Soviet comrade, you might look at these stalkers sneaking into the zone as like betraying the cause. The stalkers are only in it for themselves and how much money they can make hawking artifacts. They don't care about communist ideals. They've been like corrupted by the seducing zone, By the end of Roadside Picnic, our very traumatized stalker protagonist is brokering a monkey's paw style deal with the magical golden wish-granting orb at the center of the zone. A gamble which we have to guess isn't going to work out very well. That's how the book ends. This same theme about wish granters worked its way into the Stalker games. A wish granter that takes your wish too literally and ends up killing you. If you ask to be rich, it showers you with gold coins till you're crushed. Ask for the zone to disappear, you go blind. Ask for immortality, and the wish granter will turn you into a chromed out statue. A few years after the book was published, it was adapted into a movie by Andrei Tarkovsky. And if that name sounds familiar, I mean, it did to me because I've been playing so much Escape from Tarkov. I've always wondered if Tarkov took its name from the name of this director. But anyway, if there was any kind of pro-communist sentiment to the book, then Tarkovsky totally flipped that on its head because he was a Christian living in an atheist country. He was living in the Soviet Union. And his movie Stalker takes place in Russia rather than Canada like the book did. His movie focuses on a guy who's experiencing a crisis of faith. As he guides unsatisfied individuals to a magical room inside the zone, just like in the book and the game. Whether or not the room actually exists or if it has the power to grant wishes is never revealed in the movie. It's left ambiguous, just as it's ambiguous whether or not the stalker's faith will ever be validated. Like, it's a metaphor for God. Part of what makes faith faith is that you just don't really know for sure whether or not God exists. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called faith. And the movie is this really slow, dreamy, philosophical meditation on God and virtue and the purpose of our lives, how we're supposed to live. So the Stalker game we play today is the result of two communist Russian authors, one politically ambiguous Russian filmmaker, a very ballsy Ukrainian video game developer, and countless community modders who, if I had to guess, are from all over the world. And, you know, I'm sitting here today navigating Stalker Gamma's Discord server. I can't help but notice that users are reacting to certain announcements with both the Russian and Ukrainian flags. While the Russian government is mobilizing hundreds of thousands of reservists to the Ukrainian front line, some members of GSC, the developer responsible for the official Stalker franchise, including its sequel that's coming out next year, hopefully. Some of those guys are deployed among the Ukrainian forces. And I don't mean to make some saccharine, obvious point about how we're all just one big human gaming family or that war is bad, but part of the total joy I've had playing this game for the past 2 weeks has come from knowing that I'm sharing the experience with tens of thousands of gamers all across the world. It's that same new game hype that happens with every big release, except this time the hype is all crowdsourced from a community that loves this style of game. Stalker is known for being harrowing and horrifying and immersive. It was one of the first shooters to inaugurate the gritty, realistic style that informed games like Escape from Tarkov and DayZ. Playing Stalker Gamma one evening and then reading Roadside Picnic and then watching Tarkovsky's Stalker film and filling in the gaps with that HBO miniseries about Chernobyl. Watching all these interconnected pieces of media ends up creating a holistic experience that adds up to something more than just the sum of the parts. I just don't know what. I feel like I've been looking for some answer, some key that'll offer up an insight where if I just put the pieces next to each other in the right way, a whole picture will emerge that resembles some higher kind of truth. But just like Tarkovsky's Stalker, I also feel like I'm looking for the door to a room that doesn't exist. I think I often feel like video games are a place where I can escape from the normal pressures of real life. But lately, I'm having this weird experience of playing games that more and more remind me of what's happening out in the real world, acutely and uncomfortably. A few years ago, before the situation in Ukraine was getting so much play in the Western media, I got really into DayZ, and I made friends with people from all over the world, including Russia. And I started playing on a group of Russian servers called Pod Pivas. I thought it added something to the already very alienating, spooky experience of DayZ, where you play in a world that doesn't try to make itself legible. All of the road signs and all the text in DayZ is in Cyrillic, so I learned the Cyrillic alphabet. I even downloaded Duolingo and learned some super basic Russian. The first, and now that I think about the last, big YouTuber to ever share one of my videos was a Russian guy who calls himself Yasnova. So at the height of the pandemic, I was locked in a shoebox-sized apartment in Brooklyn, and a guy on the other side of the globe, from a country that's supposed to be an adversary to mine, he thinks my video is cool, and he shares it to his hundreds of thousands of followers. I thought it was really cool that video games and the content you can make out of them were able to cut through a kind of cultural Cold War, even if it was just for like a minute. If you look back at history, a lot of the progress that gets made on the front of expanding, human freedom and dignity is from art and movies and games. Sometimes it feels like we're right on the cusp of breaking through all the bullshit that gets thrown down at us from above, and we can communicate with each other as individuals and not as members of any group because of just the nature of the internet and how we communicate with each other today. And I don't care if it sounds trite or cliche or naive to say that because that's how I feel. And it's also why playing this game right now with all these people around the world, it can feel so surreal and creepy and kind of sad. Because in the zone, nothing's clear, nothing's given to you, nothing makes sense. It's a place where the laws of physics and reason are suspended, where all the odds are stacked against you, and around every corner is a coin flip, and every shadow holds the glimpse of death. Of course, one obvious reading of Stalker might interpret its world as reflecting our own in some ways. It's an isolating world of uncertainty, where luck determines your lot. Maybe that's why it resonates so strongly with its fans, because the world of Stalker is a world beyond good and evil. It's a place where humanity, along with every irradiated substance, breaks down slowly and then all at once. You know, when I started this YouTube channel, I was just uploading little clips and moments from my time playing DayZ that I wanted to share with my friends. But as one of the videos took off and the channel grew, I started to feel this desire to make content that highlighted what I found so special about these games. How they allow you to interact with strangers in seemingly high-stakes situations. How they mimicked a sort of like prisoner's dilemma type situation. Basically that they showed how strange and unpredictable people could be and how they don't conform to your expectations. And how counterintuitively playing a brutal, win-at-all-costs survival game was actually a pretty good way of making friends online. That basically most people are good and friendly and it doesn't matter where they're from or who they are in real life. There have been times where I posted videos because I felt I had to for the overall health of the channel, and those videos mostly suck. But recently I've been really trying to upload only stuff that I feel strongly about, and this game and the context surrounding it is making me feel all sorts of things somewhat strongly. So if you've been a part of this gamma surge and relate to anything I've talked about here, I'd like to hear from you in the comments. And if you haven't tried Stalker Anomaly yet, I highly suggest you do. I don't want to oversell it. The game runs kind of badly, and your game probably won't look as good as Drewski's, but for the price of free, I've found the game to be incredibly entertaining and engrossing. So if you have 35 gigabytes to spare on your hard drive, I suggest you stop what you're doing, download it, let the installer do its thing overnight, and I bet you'll have a hell of a time, even if you don't care about anything I've talked about in this video. So thanks for listening, and I will see you next time. Adios. Bye-bye.